I'll say 5. You're going to call to order. This is the tentative agreement meeting for collective bargaining. It is October 3rd. We are calling to order at exactly 5 p.m. We have going to open the floor to public comments. If anybody would like to get up and comment, I did not check the sign-in list. Would any of the three of you like to speak to us before we get started? Come on, Mrs. Windler, you can do it. You have to tell us who you are. Because we're live streaming, so
you have to go to the microphone too.
Go to the microphone, tell us who you are.
Welcome.
Thank you for being here this evening after your workday. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm Lori Wendler, media specialist at the junior senior high, and apparently I'm old school. I was doing things the way we used to do them.
Thank you.
My apologies, everyone. I'm here on behalf, I'm a member of the collective bargaining team for WLEA, and I want to speak on their behalf to say we really, truly appreciate the collaborative efforts and the cooperation that happens. It's more like solving an issue together than coming, across the table at each other. And I think that's really, really important. And we do appreciate that so much. And we appreciate your willingness to truly listen to what our input is on not just the negotiations issues, but other issues also. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Okay, we're going to close public comment and then move on to Dr. Greiner, who will review the agreement with us.
So I just wanted to highlight, because as we know, Mr. Marley and Mr. Wong were a part of the bargaining, but I want to make sure that the board understands what they'll be voting to approve on Monday. And I will put this information in Friday notes. I really wanted to speak it with you first in public, and then I'll put it in Friday notes. And we wanted to wait, as I told you in last Friday notes, until it was ratified by the teachers, because that was important to our teachers, and it makes sense that we would want them to hear it from them, ratify it, and then go to the next level. But I think it's interesting that Mrs. Windler spoke of the collaborative efforts, because it's exactly where I wanted to start when I thanked the teachers bargaining team and the team of administrators and board that went through the process. We settled in less than 3 hours. And during pre-bargaining, I stressed the importance for us to come and be transparent and to truly come with something that was real for the teachers, so that we could quickly go back and forth and get to where we collaboratively knew we needed to be the best for our teachers and staff, to attract the best. We focused on it being a transparent process. We focused on timeliness to respect our teacher teams, and as well as our administrators and board on both teams. And we really wanted to focus on respectful dialogue. So we wanted to hear teacher voice, admin voice, board voice, and respectfully get to a point where we collaboratively felt like we were at a place to have a great package or agreement. So just real quick, what the highlights of it, if you haven't had a chance to review, in year one, we're looking at an increment raise plus $3,000. In year two, an increment raise plus $1,500. For those that are off the scale and wouldn't receive increment, it would be a $3,000 raise in year one and a $1,500 raise in year two. And with salary benefits, which includes increment raise, additional raise, FICA, and TURF, that cost would be $210,300. And then there were some other things that were important back and forth. We wanted to streamline the 403B plan to lower costs for our employees. We wanted to get teachers starting salary at $50,250 this year. That was important to everybody. And so we accomplished that. And in year two, $51,750 per year will be the starting pay for our new teachers. We wanted a 2-year contract because we thought it was important to respect the time of our teachers, to respect the time of our administrators, anybody at the bargaining table. And we also wanted to show that we are solid as a district for anybody looking in to come in. We want to retain the best. So it was important to us that we were aggressive so that we could get a 2-year contract, so that when people look at our district, we can hire the best teachers with a competitive beginning salary, competitive among the scale, and the fact that we have a 2-year contract because we're that good at working together with the dollars that we have available. We wanted to raise HSA seed money for the single plan from $1,500 to $2,000, and that's a $22,500 cost. We wanted to make it appealing for a 2-employee group of teachers working in the district to be on a family plan. So we increased the HSA contribution to $5,000. When you look at the two areas focusing on seed money, that came to an additional $5,000. Maybe? No, it's $5,000 total, and the total for all of it is $22,500. Okay, thank you. The $7,900 is a 2% increase to all ECA additional pay, and that's except for the football coach and basketball coach. And then we removed ranges, and therefore basketball and football, looking at all those together, we had to get that to where no one moved backwards. So we had to adjust some pay in those coaching areas. So that was an additional $4,200 total. And then we added a percussion stipend position at $1,000. And so when you factored in everything, that the additional bargainable items in addition to pay, it comes to, in addition to base salary, it comes to $1,254,300 total cost for the 2-year agreement. Again, I'll summarize all that in Friday notes, and then hopefully you'll feel ready to vote on Monday. Thank you.
So as you're all aware, this is the tipping point in which what has been a confidential process moves into a public part. And so this will be available, as I understand it, for review, for public review.
It is posted online, and it has to be posted 72 hours. We've met all those requirements. We're posted, and we're ready for you guys on Monday.
And Monday, then we will come together and vote on this particular agreed contract. Just to be clear, at this point, particular items in the negotiation are not renegotiable. So we either are voting yes or no on the teacher contract when we vote on Monday. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Greiner about this agreement? I think we all can agree that we would love our teachers to be paid as much as humanly possible. Dr. Greiner and Mrs. Cronk and Mrs. Roth have been very faithful to our budget as well, which is an important piece of it. Anybody? Mr. Wong?
Yeah, I have some questions, but before I ask some simple questions, I would really appreciate Dr. Greiner and his team, their leaderships, and also this 2 years contract is very creative. You know, I mean, from my point of view, I'm layman. From my point of view, I think from our school point of view, we can manage it financially, have good management, and also for teachers, I mean, this is our commitment, so we can return the teachers and recruit the best teachers. So that's very good. And also I see our teachers representative from associations, everybody work together collaboratively in good faith. So we just finished that in less than 3 hours, right? Less than 3 hours. Yeah, I expect that this will be a smooth and productive season, but it's much better than what I expected. So just some simple question. I think it's pretty good. Everything is pretty good. Just some clarifications, questions. So in terms of percentage, for the first year, I think that there will be something like 7% increase. And
we look at, so we don't have it based on each teacher yet, but on the scale, that percentage increase is anywhere from 3.14% to 8.62%.
something
First
like
year, second year, 1.52 to 5.34.
But plus the $3,000, I mean, totally, I mean, there will be something like,
Total percent, when you factor in the increases, would be between 3.14 and
Yeah, something like 6, 7, 6.
Yeah.
So that's your first year. The second year is something like 3.
1.52 to 5.34.
Okay, great. And in terms of, so right now I know the basic starting is over 50K. So compare, I mean, what is the percentage of that kind of starting salary in terms of around our local area of the Indiana state?
Of our local, we
Yeah.
will be higher than the other 2 districts in our county. That, as
How-
far as I know,
However,
we do.
those numbers are not in
Yeah.
from their bargaining window, so
Okay.
Yeah,
we would
as
have
far
to
as
look-
I know right now.
Okay.
Comparing it to what they currently have, yes, we would be, but I don't know what their bargaining does, so.
Yeah, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
heard. But in terms of percentage, percentile throughout the Indiana state, what kind of, you can estimate? I mean,
I can safely say that we will be one of the highest total salary scales.
say
in the
90,
state.
80% top?
I can't give you that number.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't compared
Just
them to all
estimate,
of
I
our 290 districts, so, yeah.
Okay,
There will be a report later on in the year for that, with collective bargaining report that will be next spring, so that will compare that, so.
okay, I think that's all question I have so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Yin?
I also agree. I think it's always great to pay our teachers better, and so always because they work so hard, and in general, teachers in the U.S. are not that well paid, and I really appreciate that we tried our best to better compensate our teachers. Also, thank you, the negotiating team, for your hard work. So I have some questions mainly about the ECA. So I wonder, for the regular salary, there's a schedule with the education level and the year. For ECA, I wonder, typically, how are those numbers determined? Like, what are the sort of formula and or convention used to determine those compensations?
It's a combination of looking at comparing to other districts, coupled with mainly sitting at the table with the teachers and working through that process of what that might look like. So it's a combination of looking and comparing, and then again, working with teachers. So, well, yes, I don't want to go into what happened within the window, but if let's say hypothetically, there was a request to add a position, and we would certainly consider that in the bargaining process. Or either side might decide that a percent increase might be appropriate this particular year. And so it's just a combination of looking outside the district and comparing, coupled with what's important at the bargaining table that particular year.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So can one teacher sponsor multiple ECAs? Okay, then.
Yep.
Okay, then, will there be a situation when multiple teachers want to sponsor the same ECA? If so, how the decision will be made regarding who will be the sponsor?
So either the building principal, depending on what the ECA is, would make that determination, or a building level administrator that's in charge of that, or the athletic director.
Sometimes there are co-positions too. If 2 people agree that they
They'll
want to
split it.
co-sponsor a position, or 3 ways, they agree to split it up.
But again, that would happen at the building level with the administration and the people interested in that position.
Okay. Another question I have is, I noticed that there are many ECAs for the high school, which actually is great because students do enjoy, all the opportunities, educational enrichment opportunities. But however, there are less in the waitlist, even much fewer in the waitlist. So I wonder whether, like, we intentionally make it that way, or teachers are too busy to sponsor any ECA, or any like historical reason, or.
Well, if you look typically at the extracurriculars, there are typically more at the high school level. That being said, there will be dialogue in the future where that might be very well bargained and discussed, and then bargained into the contract. So you could see a shift there.
Okay, yeah, because
It's not impossible.
Yeah, because as far as I know, there are needs there in families wish to have more ECAs for the lower level, and there are actually plenty in the Wheaties as well, but they are compared with the Wheaties and the high school, there are very few in the elementary level, and actually the younger kids may need that even more, such as the after school activities. So the WLEA as a teacher representative bargain the salary or the benefit, everything, but all the teachers will use the same schedule, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Mr. Wong, Mr. Schott, did you have any questions? Mrs. Austin, did you have any questions? Okay, Mr. Wong, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, but just because talk about ECA, just to follow up things. I noticed there's, because we have these tables, ECA compensation, their categories, and also at the back, there's talking about the salary and combinations, compensations recommended through the ECA study and the review committee. So I'm just wondering, what kind of role this committee played when we decide these kind of tables for the ECA compensation?
The committee will come together and work with the Teachers Association to bring that to the bargaining table.
Oh, okay.
They will bring recommendations to the bargaining table to consider.
Okay, so for example, 2% increase is their recommendations, right?
That could be bargained. That could go back and forth. It may or may not have been 2%. It could have been higher. It could have been lower. And at the end result would have been the 2% or whatever percent that would be brought to a board for approval.
Am I correct, Dr. Greger, that what the teachers brought forward and what the administrators countered with, that would be the closed portion of this? We wouldn't get into the detail of
That's what.
who said what. in the-
That's correct.
Yes. And Mr. Marley, I'm terribly sorry. I forgot to ask you if you had anything you'd like to say this evening.
Well, I've been doing this now for, I think, 14 years, and it was the smoothest interaction that I think I've ever seen. I've actually seen this go, maybe 3 or 4 sessions before, something to that effect. So I want to thank the teachers, the WLEA, right out of the box. And I also want to thank our team of administrators who actually came with a plan, which was really, really helpful. And within the confines of our budget, so that we can actually do this without hurting ourselves at all. So this is a wonderful combination, and I appreciate everybody's effort in that. Dr. Yin, your question about ECAs, I will tell you that I was a volunteer coach starting when the kids were like 5 or 6 years old, and I kept that up all through elementary school, all into junior high. And there's a lot of us out there that coach, that volunteer and help out. And there's others that help volunteer and coach in other disciplines. So I think we try to handle that as best we can with volunteerism. I don't disagree that maybe we could try to balance the equation, but quite frankly, in junior high and high school, that's when our kids start to get into activities that require ECAs because of the time commitment involved. So good question.
May I ask?
Follow-up, Dr. Yin?
Yes, thanks. Yes, actually, you remind me of, thank you for volunteering for the
Yeah.
ECA activities. That's a lot of time commitment and been there myself too. And so really the question is, so does some of the ECAs need a sponsor who have to be teachers, but others don't have to have some of the coaches, like as far as I know, like tennis, football maybe as well, and but others have to have a school teacher as a sponsor, and I wonder whether there's any rule for that.
Typically, we would try to fill a position with a teacher. One thing you talked about earlier when you gave your appreciation for the contract and the team working together, the greater team, the bargaining team, teachers and admin and board together at the table to give the most competitive salary we can give. A part of that is in the area of their talent and expertise with regard to the ECA. If they can follow their passion and give it on to the students and make additional money, it becomes that much more competitive of a position. So as a building level principal, I would have looked within my building at the staff members that were looking for those opportunities, had interest in those opportunities, and were passionate about those specific areas of ECA, and I would have assigned it to them for the very reason of what you're talking about earlier, was to give a most competitive salary to our teachers. And so that, to me, as a principal, would have been a general focus or rule to try and do that. We don't want a position sitting empty. And if there are lay coaches or lay support people that are willing to come in and do that, and that position is open, then we would of course invite them in, and our contract allows to pay lay coaches as well as teachers.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So that means I think that's a great idea. We give priority to our teachers. So if teachers are willing to be a sponsor for those ECAs, then they should have that priority, right? Then if we cannot find the person who can fill in that position, then we look for coaches and sponsors outside. There's no fixed rule, or certain clubs have to have internal sponsor, others can have external. So that my understanding. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's helpful. So then, yeah, okay, I can ask other questions. Following some of the emails. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
The board member, I think.
All right, do we have any other questions or comments for this evening?
But I wait for my turn, so you guys can talk, and then.
I don't think anyone else has.
Okay, just a quick question regarding this ECA study and the review committees. I'm just wondering who are serving in that committee right now. Do you know?
No, I do not know.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then it's not if you can, including you meeting minutes or email, whatever. There's no rush.
These things are really, ECAs are really at the building level. They really
Building
happen
level
at the
things.
building level.
So we have several committees for each building.
No, they're under the direction of the building principal. So the
Okay.
building principal would direct what would happen within ECAs in their building.
Okay. Yeah, if you can get.
There's not a corporation level ECA committee.
Okay. Yeah, if we can get the information for that, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you asking me to email the association and find out who sits on the committee?
Yeah, whoever.
Okay.
I don't know
I will
who,
send.
but because I don't know who is in charge of these things. But if we have the information, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, also, sorry, may I say? In general, I think it would be helpful to have the data for the enrollment and the workload for different ECAs, because I happen to be familiar with some of the ECAs. I know the workload for them is super heavy. For example, the robotics and program, and they meet like daily and work extremely hard, but I look at some of the compensations is fairly low. And also like cross country, the teachers basically run with the kids, and it's not an easy thing to do. So I
will tell you that we work very closely with and we're in a situation right now where, and the association is in agreement with this. It's discussable to a degree. They just want to know that we are putting kids' safety first. We're in a situation right now where we're looking at a specific additional coach because of numbers, and we have the ability to do that. In fact, in the contract, it says it's representative. It's not true. It's there for example. And so the key there is working closely with the AD, who is working closely with those coaches, who is then in turn working closely with, it's all very collaborative in effort. And then something comes to Mrs. Croft, for example, she just said, what do you think about this? And my response was, we put kids first. And if this is what we're hearing at their level, then that additional coach is warranted and makes sense. So I don't know that, I think it would cause a lot of work. I'm recommending to you that if you ask me to go out and ask each one of our ECA sponsors to create a list and workload, I think it would actually cause additional work to them, that they would hope that the board would trust that we have a system that is working through at the building level, and that rather than collecting all of that data, that it's working. And we discuss at the teacher table monthly, and we're very collaborative there too. And so I don't see an issue, but if the board tells me to ask sponsors and building administrators to collect that additional data, I will absolutely do what the board directs me to do.
Please don't give them more work on the back of the board. They feel very challenged and
If you guys decide that and let me know, and I will serve the board.
Dr. Yin, if you have a desire to ask our ECA coaches to provide data and analyze their workload, you would need to present that in a board meeting, and the majority of the board would need to agree with you that that was a good direction. Anytime we're asking for significant administrative work from any of our staff, that can't come from one board member, that would have to come from the majority of the board.
I sorry when I asked that question, I didn't realize it will be like a lot of work, because usually people will know how many people are in their program, right? If you ask them, they know immediately. Like I'm coaching 50 students doing the cross country or something like that. I didn't intend to add an extra workload. I thought that's just a data.
And I meant my response, no disrespect. I was just telling you that it would be additional. And so I would do that if you guys tell me as a board to do that, but I would want to hear that.
Yeah, I only because I observed some of the coaches who work extremely hard. And when I look at those numbers, I felt, oh, that's pretty low. I felt sort of bad. I wish we can compensate those teachers more. That's my intention. I'm not like questioning, oh, why do we give this person that much? It's more like, oh, I feel some of the teachers are under compensated. And another thing sort of relates to ECA and relates to my earlier point regarding the WLCSC. And I understand there are more probably need for the ECA in the higher level, like a high school, junior high. However, I felt, it's also important for the younger kids to have more opportunities, and it's for equity reason. For example, if kids didn't have opportunity to learn how to play basketball, then when there's a call for basketball team, they won't be ready for it. So I just hope more our kids, whether or not they have money to do the ECA when they are young, they have the opportunity to learn some of the skills, so they can be more ready later on when there's opportunity for them to play for the varsity and so on.
That's one of the things that's wonderful about our community supporting our referendum, is it's allowed us to continue PE in the younger grades on a consistent basis, so that all students have the opportunity to gain some of those skills, learn the rules of the game, and get some experience doing them. So that's a great compliment to our community for being willing to support making sure that our children receive consistent physical education. There was one other thing that I kind of wanted to address, because I feel like it's been left a little bit out of this conversation. Some of those, I'm familiar, I agree that many of our educators who are also coaches and club sponsors invest huge amounts of their time and have a very heavy workload with that. One of the advantages to ECAs in a public school setting is it gives students the opportunities to step up into leadership roles. So I'm most familiar with band, and I'll give you the band example. While Mr. Pettit and Mr. Danning have a very large band group that they supervise, they've developed a structure for section leaders and other leadership within the band that gives students an opportunity to develop leadership skills, to manage their peers, and develop and grow as people, that helps them be more successful in life. So those opportunities to grow doesn't necessarily mean another adult would help. I'm sure we all would enjoy additional adults in our lives, but it gives students opportunities to step up. And as they're completing those college resumes, and as they're going in to have interviews for scholarships, they're able to talk about how they've grown through those leadership opportunities. And to me, that's a wonderful kind of side benefit to growth to ECAs. Did you have anything you would add to that?
I did not have anything to add to that. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions before we adjourn tonight? Mr. Wong?
Sorry for so many questions. I'm just wondering regarding the ECA, whatever classroom enrollment things. I don't think it is fair for us, the teachers to do actual work, collect information. But do we have the system, information system? The enrollment, each activities in each classroom, you can run the report and you can get that right away. Because I work for many companies, and normally this kind of information system, they can track. Say, I used to work for Anheuser-Busch, they make beers. The whole information you can track from the production until they're on the shelf, and 20 days after on the shelf, all information pretty much online. So you can, right away you get it. So I'm just wondering, do we have any kind of information, just very low cost, and get the information right away?
If the board would like for me to work with administration to collect that information, I will collect it. I'm
No,
telling
no,
you right now, I don't-
I'm
I think you're asking if I have it or if I can get it like that. I don't believe I can.
It is not a component of our student information system.
No,
But if you ask me to collect it, I'm saying, and the board wants me to do that, we will do what it takes to get that right. I don't have it at my hands right now, if that's
Okay.
what you're asking.
No, I don't want extra
Okay.
effort. I just wondering if we have that kind of system, and then everybody get information right away. But that's okay. I don't want to cause any extra. I think our ECAs, their work is not it's not compensated by these kind of nominal money. I look at that so that's okay. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Yin?
So if we propose to collect that information, it will be on a board meeting, is that what you say?
If you would like to direct Dr. Greiner to collect data on our ECAs, then you would need to make a motion to do that at a board meeting, and you would need to have a majority vote, because that is a significant amount of work that he would be asking his staff to complete. So we've gotten to that point where if a request is burdensome on staff, then it would require the majority of the vote to agree, the majority of the board to agree to give him that direction.
I'm not really sure about, I'm not familiar with every single ECA, but for the ones my kids attend, and it sounds like the teachers have a roster. The data is right there. It's not like I'm not like digging historical data for another 20 years or something. It's just now, and I'm not sure about the workload issue. So,
Well, Dr. Greiner's just told you it's a workload, and I agree with him, it's a workload that we don't need to add, and Mr. Schott has weighed in that it's a workload. So I understand you don't think it's a workload. I do think it's a workload. We could vote on it in a meeting to give him direction if that's what is necessary to do. I want your question to be satisfied, but I don't.
yeah, I can propose, later I can propose to collect that information. Actually, related to that, another information I would like to have is the percentage of students who on the free or reduced lunch for different ECAs. I wish those students can be encouraged to participate in that, because that's a very good opportunities for all the students. And typically the cost is not that high. I hope more students can benefit the rich educational programs we have in our school districts. That I mentioned that in my email. I like to say it again. If we happen to be able to collect that data, that'll be great. And because that's equity has been an issue in our school district, so I wish we can pay attention to it.
I would urge you to use caution in making generalizing statements like equity is an issue in our school corporation without any data to prove, without any source for that. That is a matter of opinion, but it's a generalization, if that makes sense. So I just would encourage you to be cautious with those types of generalizations. I hear that you're interested in additional data collection. That would just take the majority of the vote, the board to agree to assign additional workload to our school leadership and teachers. So that's where we are with that. Anybody else, any questions? Mr. Wong.
Last question. So if we want to try to have a motion, whatever, but can we have a kind of a rough estimate how much labor hours to collect those information, maybe so we can make a well-informed decisions?
Mr. It's been a long day
We
here.
have to figure out how many hours it would take to ask each administrator to collect all of the ECAs, list them out, list the number of student in each one, and then list what percentage of those students are free reduced lunch. We'll try to work on it.
It's privileged information for people who have access.
Yeah, we don't track that in ECA. I
There
never
are
remember
there are a handful of people who have access to that information, and that is to protect student and family privacy. That would be the hardest thing to link to, but it would be one of the few people who have that. So that would be the hardest thing.
And so I guess really, if you as a board could prioritize questions, because example, I've got 17 questions already for this Friday, and I suspect there'll be more. And that's why you guys can help me if you start prioritizing your questions, because one question to an administrator could take 5 minutes but when you multiply that times 17 or 25 or 40 in a week, it becomes a data collection nightmare for our principals and or my team. And I'm not telling you we won't do it. We will. I just need the board to tell me what your priority is for the data collection. Example, we were out today celebrating learning with students. We will do more of that if that becomes a board priority. If it's more of a board priority for us to collect data each week, we will continue to do that. I just want the board to direct me to do that so that I understand where to channel our energy and then filter that down to our administrators. And I'm not suggesting one question it may take 45 minutes is all, but if you multiply that times multiple questions, it actually becomes our full-time job. And so that is the only reason I'm asking you guys to prioritize. And I mean it respectfully. I mean it respectfully because the more that I'm out in the community, the more that I'm out at a ball game, shaking a kid's hand as he walks off or she walks off the soccer field or the baseball. Today, a student came up to me in high school and said, "I'm so pleased to meet you, Dr. Greiner, and I want to tell you about my food." That was the most exciting part of my day-to-day. And so the more that we do that, I think the more that we be the special place that we are. But I am more than willing to take as whatever number of questions you give me. I'm asking you guys to prioritize that for me so that I know where you guys need my work to focus.
And just,
Once again, say, my personal priority is less work on the administrators and the teachers. Let them do their job, not silly requests from us.
and I
My
will,
priority.
thank you. And I will say that of the 17 questions that were received today, I will be answering those this evening at the end of my day. And if Dr. Greiner, I have any that I don't know the answer to, I will inquire with Dr. Greiner, but I also have a full-time job. And so if we could keep the number as reasonable as possible, I would be grateful for that.
I'd much rather you be out with our kids,
Yes,
in our buildings, our fields.
encouraging our students. Yeah.
So regarding the questions, so Dr. Brenner, I think maybe I'm just thinking about because your expertise, I mean, you run this thing. I think you have the authority to decide. You have knowledge and authority to decide which one is you answer first. That's my thinking. Maybe you get better and say, hey, this question probably is not important. We can answer that maybe next month. Or something like that.
Though, I want to be careful because I want to be respectful to the board, and each one of you is my direct supervisor as one. And so I want to be very respectful of the board. And that's why I'm asking if you guys as a board can prioritize so that I don't let you down. I want to serve you well, but I also want to be out there serving our teachers. And most importantly, because they're doing this they're serving our teachers, I want to be out there for Mrs. Saros or Mr. Schreiner, or Mrs. Delaney. I want to be out there supporting them, who are then supporting our teachers. But I also recognize the board hires and fires the superintendent. I will not let you down. If you guys as a board tell me what to prioritize, you're going to get a servant leader who prioritizes that. I'm saying this respectfully to each of you 7. I recognize Mrs. Mumford's not here, but it's equally for all 7 of you.
I think what we do is we let him run our school corporation in concert with our administrators. I think that's what we do. And when you guys have questions, and I understand there's questions, think about what the end game is when you ask that question. What is my goal? What do I hope to reveal or improve? More importantly, improve by asking this question. Think about it in that context. They're running the school, and we'll never run it on our best day. Not qualified, not in position, not our job. Let them do it. Let them do it. That's it. That's why we're the #1 school corporation in the state of Indiana. Period. Period. And one of the best in the country. Any other thing to talk about? Context it like that. Think about it that way. That's it.
Just think, may I say something? So I guess the board always say, we're the best, we're the best. We didn't need to make changes, but just think all the changes Dr. Greiner made after he came. So that same argument was said again and again before Dr. Greiner came, but after he came, we made all those changes, all those improvements. That means there are things to improve.
The operative word is we. We made those changes.
But why didn't you do it before? You had the opportunity for more than 10 years.
Okay,
This is not the proper place. to
this is
discuss.
not what we're here tonight. We are here to focus on our tentative agreement. Dr. Yin, I don't have anything else to say to that. You are welcome to hold your opinion. I'm going to accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Austin, second by Mr. Wong. We are adjourned. It is 5:41 PM. Mrs. Austin, if you would please